AEW is about to make pro wrestling history yet again, as it looks like they are on the precipice of a TV deal that would likely net them upwards of $200 million per year over the next 4 years in a blockbuster TV deal with Warner Brothers Discovery that hasn't been seen before from a wrestling company outside of WWE. Even if we go back to WCW, it is difficult for us to really go in and calculate the amount of money that WCW was getting from their television partner, and the main reason for that was because WCW was owned by Turner. And when Turner owned the network, when the company that is now known as WBD owned the network, the money that was being funneled in wasn't because that was genuinely the value of the company at the time. It was because it was a property they were already invested in. It was a property that they had already owned. Therefore, they are going to pump as much money as possible in order to see it succeed. Whereas AEW, from day one, had to earn everything they got. And once Tony Khan laid out the vision in 2019 for what AEW would be, no one could have imagined that they would have had the early success that they did. Because in 2019, even when they had pay-per-views that were selling at a buy rate of over 100,000 per event, it was still uncertain what TV would be. And when they announced that they were going to be on TNT, and then in October of 2019, Dynamite would premiere, the question was what the success looked like. And early on, we heard reports that if AEW got anywhere close to 500,000 live viewers for Dynamite, that would have been a success. That would have been something that the network was happy with. Yet, lo and behold, they were averaging right around 900 to a million weekly for nearly 3 years. That is not something that needs to be taken lightly. And I think a lot of that early success that AEW had is what led to this deal and the trust that Warner Brothers Discovery has in AEW. Because trust with your television partner is a massive deal. That is why even after the ratings have been slipping for shows like Raw and SmackDown, USA Network has a vested interest in keeping WWE programming on USA Network, because for them, they view wrestling as something that not only can act as a flagship for the USA Network brand, but on top of that, it is something that they know they can't miss with. It is reliable live viewership year-round, and it makes that TV time and that ad revenue mean even more because it's that reliable. And that is the big bet that Tony Khan made back in 2019 when he decided to fund AEW. It was that he saw that there was a space in the television market for another challenger brand wrestling company to compete. He knew that there was a space in the market for a network to give a wrestling company not named WWE that amount of money. And when those deals for SmackDown and Raw kicked in 2019, SmackDown going on Fox, of course, and Raw staying on USA, I think that even reinforced the idea of there being a market for wrestling. And it reinforced the idea that Tony Khan had made the right choice. And that's why, after being on what was essentially a trial contract for the last few months of 2019, in 2020, they got a real TV deal, $44 million per year, which eventually ended up being a lot more once they added Collision, Battle of the Belts, and other aspects to the TNT, TBS, Warner Brothers Discovery relationship with AEW. That is when we knew that not only was Warner Brothers Discovery comfortable with having AEW on their TV networks, but on top of that, they viewed this as a mutually beneficial partnership, because AEW gets the exposure to be on a major network on top of being paid like a premier TV show, and Warner Brothers Discovery gets a bit of a flagship on Wednesday nights, on Saturday nights, potentially on other nights if some rumor and speculation for what's going to happen to Collision once this new deal kicks in are to be believed. But they knew that they had something that can sustain viewership more than what they would be getting otherwise. And when you consider the fact that pro wrestling for the TV network is relatively cheap to produce when you compare it to drama series or other things that are on TV, it's a bit of a no-brainer. So we're at a point where the TV partner has trust in AEW, and where AEW now has the opportunity to not only evolve as a company in that they're getting over the hump of this first renewal, but they now have the resources to go out there and evolve and take the next step that they need to take as a company, because they are no longer the startup challenger brand that Tony Khan was talking about in 2019. They are far from it. They've gone through quite the growing pains over the last number of years, and they are at a point now where they need to further legitimize and grow the brand. And they will now be in a better position to do that with all of the revenue coming in from the media rights deals, from all of the revenue that could potentially be coming in from their international media rights deals, because this is something that people don't talk about. WWE is going to Netflix worldwide starting January 2025, meaning Raw, SmackDown, every show that WWE does will no longer be appearing on TV in media markets throughout the entire world outside of North America. So that opens up the space for these networks to give AEW a shot. That opens up the money for these networks to pay AEW just to keep wrestling on their television programs. So that opens up even more revenue streams for AEW, and it opens up the ability for them to go out and compete for top free agents more aggressively than they have been. Because when you're bringing in an estimated $44 to $70 million per year, which is what AEW is currently making on their deals, it's a lot harder for you to be aggressive with every and any free agent you want to be than it would be if you're getting between $170 to $200 million per year, which is being reported by the likes of Puck News and Fightful. That opens up your resources more, that opens up your wallet more, and it allows you to go out there and compete for a guy like Kevin Owens, who you would think would be a no-brainer to stay with WWE. But if AEW is offering you comparable money, even more money, and outbidding WWE, while at the same time you know you would go there and the schedule would be better for you, it becomes a bit of a no-brainer for the talent as well. So they have the potential here to do a lot of great things. They have made history time and time again, and this deal has reinforced their place in it. And as far as where AEW goes next, that is something that Tony Khan is going to be deciding as the leader and the owner of the company. But as of right now, one thing's for sure, he's led it in the right direction.